Hello, everybody. Camo, Crusader for Christ. And this is the 31st day of living this year without fear. And man, I hope that this day finds you rejoicing in the Lord always. You know, in the book of Numbers, chapter 14, we find a situation there that does not call for rejoicing. In fact, the first verse of chapter 14 says that all of the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. Well, what caused all that commotion? Why did they weep and cry all night? I mean, have you ever done that before? Have you ever been in a situation that had caused you such an emotional strain or trauma that you were so distraught that you spent the entire night in tears? It says that this happened to all of Israel, that all night the cries could be heard from their tents. And not only that, it says that they began murmuring as well. They started murmuring against Moses and Aaron and God, and they were saying, "Would God we had died in the land of Egypt, and would God we had died in this wilderness." You know, some things never change, does it? People, even today, when they get distraught, they put on the "I wish I were dead" routine. What possibly could have caused it this time? Well, it was something that Navi, the son of Vophsi, said. Now you remember that guy, right? I mean, it's a story that everybody knows, and Agal, he backed up Nabi on what he said. Don't you remember? You don't remember those guys? Well, they were a couple of the 12 spies that went over to the promised land. You know, we're very familiar with Joshua and Caleb, the ones that came back with the good report. But Navi and Egal was part of the 10 that came back with the evil report. Their report was, there's some big guys over there in this land. As a matter of fact, they're so big, in my eyes, I felt like I was a grasshopper to them. Yeah, the old Operation Grasshopper had the people stirred up. And they cried all night. And you know, the sad part is that God had already given them the land. Chapter 13 and verse 2, God said to Moses and to Aaron, "Pick out 12 people, one from each of the tribes, and send them over into the land of Canaan, that they may search out the land which I give unto the children of Israel." See? Signed, sealed, delivered. It was theirs. Done deal. There was no need for them to worry about it. God had already delivered that land into their hands. What was the problem? Folks, they refused to accept the promise of God. They refused to accept His word on the matter that He had given it to them. So there's another moral to our story here too. Be very careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. Those folks cried all night saying, "Would God we had died in this wilderness." And guess what? They got their wish. God was so fed up and so angered by the actions of the people that night that He gave them a sentence of a year for a day. He said, "You wandered over in that land for 40 days searching it out. You're going to wander in this desert for 40 years, a year for a day. And during that time, over 1 million of you are going to perish, and your carcasses," it says, "are going to fall in this wilderness." That was the sentence. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness. Because they had murmured against God, they rejected His promise, and they made a wish. And they got their wish. So I would say that part of living this year without fear for us is for, first of all, you and I to accept the promises of God and not reject them. We need to believe them. And not to murmur about the situation that we're in, that we're placed in. And especially be careful of what we wish for. Because you know what? We just might get it. Hey, I hope this helps you out. It's the Camo Crusader for Christ, and saying God bless and have a marvelous day.